Alright, this week it's adventure time again. And this week I'll be going over Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. This adventure is for characters levels 1 through 11, and it takes you to Icewind Dale. Now, most people are familiar with Forgotten Realms probably know of R.A. Salvatore's series of books that introduced Drista Warden, and this is where he actually went and met a bunch of the other famous characters Bruner Battlehammer and Katie Bree and Wolfgar and Regis the Halfling. This is kind of a set further along than those books and everything. So this whole adventure is more recent into the more of the recent books. So, but it does use as it showcases Icewind Dale and Ten Towns as the backdrop for it. Now it does come with the map, like most adventures does. So it gives you a map of all 10 towns and also of the whole area itself of Icewind Dale, from Sea of the Moving Ice to the Reghead Glacier. It shows you where all the 10 towns are and the spine of the world. So it gives you a good map of not only the surrounding area but of the towns itself. So this adventure is pretty much with you getting into 10 towns, and it also does use the Arcane Brotherhood from Luskin as kind of some of the villains that you're going to find in the area. So that's kind of one of the things you come across in through the adventure. But the whole overarching idea of this is Ariel, Auril. She's the Frost Maiden, and she has come to. She's a demigod of winter, and she has come to Icewind Dale kind of as a reprieve, and she's casting a spell every night to kind of keep the 10 towns in the whole Icewind Dale area in a perpetual state of winter. So this, in a sense, the sun doesn't rise, and she in a sense casts a spell of darkness, in a sense that so during the day the sun doesn't rise over Icewind Dale, so she can keep the whole area in a perpetual state of winter. So that's kind of the whole backdrop of this adventure. And so you get into 10 towns, you start off as level 1, and then for the first chapter it's pretty much takes you from level 1 to 4. It's all about adventuring in 10 towns and kind of dealing with a bunch of the local threats and everything. And then you move on into chapter 2, which kind of broadens the area into Icewind Dale, the surrounding area, and you're level 4, and you kind of start in a sense stereotypical D&D campaign. You start off as lower levels, kind of as local champions, and then as you progress through the higher levels, you become more and well renowned throughout the area. So that's what chapter 2 is you reach level 4, and you're starting out the kind of broaden your horizon and go across the Icewind Dale area, and you kind of take your adventures outside of the 10 towns, dealing with not just local threats in each of the towns or whatever, but also in the surrounding areas. So in the introduction though, before this, you do have a bunch of stuff that you can use as character hooks, and you do have a whole list of secrets that you can use for your characters, the kind of in a sense adventure hooks and everything. So as you progress through this adventure, it adds more nuance to it. So then when you do get into the later chapters, after chapter 2, going into Icewind Dale, you get into the chapter 3, which is a sunbright or sunblight, where you actually dealing with another one of the NPCs, which is a Draugr, a Grey Dwarf. He's one of the villains who's working on raising a dragon of the Chardolin crystals or whatever. People familiar with R.A. Salvatore's books, that's what the crystal shard was made of and everything. So he's here to harvest that. This villain and enslave the people of 10 towns in the Icewind Dale's surrounding area. So that's the whole idea of chapter 3, and then you move on to chapter 4, which is kind of the it's called Destruction's Light, and so that kind of piggybacks off the events of chapters 3. So you go from chapter 3 right into chapter 4. So that chapter 3 takes you from 4 to 5. Chapter 4 takes you to level 6. And then you get into chapter 5, where it's Arel's abode, where you're actually going into like trying to find like the Frost Maiden herself, and like that should take you up to like level 7. And then moving on forward into like the later chapters, like chapter 6, you actually go to like the Reghead glacier. So like with the trusty map here and everything. So like you pretty much like chapters like 1 are like the 10 towns, and then chapter 2 you start going into the surrounding areas. Chapters 3 like and 4 deal with the Draugr, and then like chapter 5 and you deal with Ariel, and then like in 6 and chapter 6 and 7 you go over here to like the actual glacier where you're actually dealing with like the an old Netheresi empire, like a floating city that like had gotten like that fell out of the sky when the Netheresi empire fell hundreds if not thousands of years before, and this floating city got trapped underneath the glacier. So like you're now starting to go into there and starting to search around there and that, and so like that's basically chapter 6 and 7. So like what's great is like once you get into chapter 6 you're pretty much getting starting off at like level 8, and this can progress you to like up to level 9 to get into chapter 7, which basically builds off that, and like getting like the whole mystery of like the Reghead Glacier and like the what happened with the Netheresi Empire floating city or whatever. So like what's cool is you actually have like multiple like endings, sort of like I mean, you could say Mass Effect, like the 3 with the multiple endings, but like it ended up being like the same ending, same kind of concept. But this one actually does have like a different like a 3 different endings that you could end up with based on the character's actions, dice rolls, and everything. So like you kind of have like 1 of 3 options. Like, okay, did you end the winter? Does the winter still go on, or like and like and then there's actually another whole big surprise. And I'm not here. I'm probably not going to say much about like that third option, but it does kind of in a sense like reset the board, where it opens up the whole a whole new set of adventures that you could do with your group that you put through this, and then like kind of build a whole campaign based on just the third end and everything. So that's what's this is what's kind of cool about this adventure is like I like it because like I'm a big Drist fan, and of course this is where he started with, and so I'm like oh cool, we get to go back and visit this area where like the whole in a sense like everything started and everything. So like even though like you're like about 100 years removed from the events of like the Crystal Shard book and like the Icewind Dale trilogy and like all that what happened there. So but like you still get to go back and kind of like visit the area in a sense where like everything started. So and like what's cool about this is like it gives you 3 options where you can actually like have like a branch off like 3 different ways and everything. So like there's multiple different possibilities that you can have to build upon this adventure, even though it only goes to like a level 11, and this is like one of the many that are like lower levels, because most, as I've stated before, most adventures only take you till like a level 10, 11, maybe 12 or whatever. Like of course Curse of Strahd is probably like the most famous adventure book that's out there right now, and that takes you to level 10. This one actually takes you to level 11. So like which is works great in one aspect, and it's like the 3 endings that I said that you have. It kind of like lets you broaden out from like a level 11 to level 20 to like either any one of those 3 directions that you end up getting down and everything, or like most, like you can just be like a one and done shot when you run this adventure and then pick up another adventure book and everything. So like the possibilities are like just like any D&D campaign are completely endless. Now if you are someone like that does like the longer ones that take you all the way through, like the Candlekeep Mysteries would probably be the better one. And then of course there's like the Mad Mage's Curse and like adventure book. So one of the other ones I'll be getting into, like Dungeon of the Mad Mage. That's the one I'll be getting into later. that one actually does take you to level like 20, and that's like a built off like the dragon heist. So those ones I'll be getting into later. But like, so if you're one that wants to do levels 1 through 20 with just one adventure book, then like this probably wouldn't be the greatest for the Icewind Dale one. But like I said, what like what's great about this is even though it takes you only to level 11, I'll reiterate, with the 3 possible endings that you have, you can, in a sense, build upon the events that you run through this, and then take the adventure from like a level 11 down to up to level 20 with all 3 possible endings that you have in this.